Hello, and today we are talking about section 17-4 titled The Hardships of War. And we're going to talk about just what life was like during this time for a lot of soldiers and a lot of people, and just overall what were the war efforts like and what was going on um, besides battles and that kind of thing. So, 17-4 Hardships of War. First of all, life as a soldier. Most of the soldiers were young, 21 and younger. Obviously, they hadn't seen a lot of things since they were younger, so this made them grow up very quickly. Um, they would march all day a lot of times because they would, go 100 miles between places where they're trying to get. So they would march some every day to get closer to that area and then sleep outside overnight. A lot of times on the ground, most of the time on the ground, no matter what their weather was. And every day they would sacrifice or risk their life, just the chance of being shot or killed every single day. In fact, 1/4 of the soldiers were wounded or killed, seriously wounded or killed in the battles, and a lot of others would get sick and die from diseases such as pneumonia and malaria and just other things that they might catch and never be able to get over that because they're outside all the time, whether it's cold or hot or whatever. So it was not obviously a good place to be. The conditions were not good for either side. The South, they had to draft. They were running out of men, so they drafted people between the ages of 17 and 50. 17 and 50. You guys are almost 17, and I am getting near 50. So it's almost like we could have fought together in the war, which big age gap there. Men who owned 20 or more slaves, and remember, if you owned 20 or more slaves, you were a planter, you had a plantation. So if you had a plantation, you did not have to serve, you would not be drafted. Okay, think about this. The people that own the plantation, they're the ones that had most of the slaves. What's the main reason we're fighting at this point? Now, let's get to it. It's slavery, is the big issue. So the fact that the slaves were, or the slave owners, the plantation owners, had most of the slaves, but they didn't have to fight. And then the people who didn't have slaves or have many slaves were the ones that had to fight for them. So a lot of people were mad just with the fact that the plantation owners did not have to fight. They did pass a draft law in the North, and if you're between 20 and 45, you had to you would be called upon to serve. However, you could avoid the draft by paying your way out of it, and it cost $300 back in 1863, 1862 money, $300. So more, it's worth more than it is today. But you could pay someone to take your place, and this made a lot of people mad as well. Now there was all kinds of problems in the North, and in the South. Start off in the North, though. Many people are upset because of the Emancipation Proclamation. They weren't upset that the slaves are being freed, but kind of back to the whole like the immigrant thing that we talked about before. They're afraid they're going to take their jobs. They're going to work for less, and they would work for less. They've been working for nothing all these years. So what's to say they're going to say, yeah, I'll take half of what you're paying him, and gladly do the job, because that's still a lot more than what they've made in the past. A lot did not feel strongly about the slavery issue, so they didn't want to risk their life to end it. So, like, if you kind of thought, I don't care if they have, I'm against it, but if they want to have it, that's up to them. I don't really feel that strongly about it. Well, okay. So they're not going to want to risk their life for that. That just it made it tough to justify to them worth going. So there was rioting going on, and the worst happened in New York City in July of 1863. During this 4-day period in July, white Northerners attacked free blacks and people that had paid to avoid serving. So it basically, they attacked the blacks and the wealthy. And it got really bad. It got really nasty. And it got so bad where President Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. And what that meant is That's just basically your rights, where you have a hearing and all that stuff. And no, we're if you're caught doing this stuff, you're in trouble, and we're going to take away some of your rights, something the president does have the power to do. And we just had to get this stopped. Well, nearly 14,000 people were arrested during a 4-day period in New York. And it did work. It did get it stopped, but it was just a nasty, nasty few days in the city of New York. In the South,